I think that the name change actually reflects more accurately what the show is about, which it has always been a place for people to come and tell their stories, and we give them a platform to raise awareness.
Welcome to the first episode of the fourth season of the CHC podcast, Congenital Heart Conversations, now officially reintroduced as Congenital Heart Chronicles. I'm Anna Jaworski, a heart mom to an adult with a single ventricle heart, and the founder of this podcast. Over the past 3 years, we've had the privilege of meeting so many remarkable individuals and sharing countless meaningful stories. As we reflected on our growth, it became clear that our name needed to evolve with us. We're not just having conversations, we're creating a space where people can tell their stories in their own voices. And that is the heart of our rebrand and the inspiration behind our new name. I'm excited to have a core group of dedicated volunteers with me here today. Since we launched the podcast, we've experienced incredible growth and transformation. And we can't wait to introduce you to the heart of the team. Stick around to learn how you can get involved and become part of our journey. Hailing from Boston, Massachusetts is Annie Olczyk. Annie, would you introduce yourself to our audience?
Hello, everyone. I'm Annie. I'm a 46-year-old nomenclature hypoplastic left heart patient who has had the Fontan.
Perfect. And from Fife, Scotland, Ayrton Beattie, will you please introduce yourself to us?
Hi, I'm Ayrton. I'm a bereaved sibling to my brother Edward, who passed from an undiagnosed heart defect, and I have drug-induced long QT syndrome due to depressants.
And hailing from near the Philadelphia area, we have Nicole Bilodeau. Nicole, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole. I was born with a bicuspid aortic valve that was diagnosed at 44, and I had surgery a week later to correct it. And go Birds.
Thank you, Anna, so much for introducing us. That was wonderful. As we continue, Anna, what inspired the decision to rebrand the podcast at this point in our journey?
I don't think it's necessarily common to rebrand after 3 years, but this is something that we've been working on for almost a year. When I went to Podcast Movement in 2024, and Annie was there with me as well as Sherry Turner, we were looking at some of the problems that a lot of podcasts have, and CHC podcast just wasn't being found. So we decided then that we needed to rebrand. But rebranding in the middle of the year didn't seem like a good idea, and it takes a lot of time to work through this. We actually put it out to our listeners to see what name they liked, and Congenital Heart Chronicles was the one that our listeners voted to switch to.
Nicole, as we move into this new chapter, will the core mission and focus of the podcast remain the same?
No, I think that the name change actually reflects more accurately what the show is about, which it has always been a place for people to come and tell their stories, and we give them a platform to raise awareness about whatever condition or situation they're coming on to discuss.
I agree 100%. It has always been about stories. So Chronicles does seem like a good word. Conversations also makes a good word because, of course, we do want to have a conversation, but I like that our listeners liked the word Chronicles. This is unusual, folks, for us to all have our cameras on. I'm feeling a little self-conscious here. My camera is on. I'm used to being able to do this with the camera off, but we thought it would be fun for you all to see what we actually look like and to maybe get a chance to know us a little bit better. We're not going to be doing this all the time, but we thought we'd start off the new year with something a little different. We just thought that would be cool. So let's talk about branding and inspiration. Ayrton, you are our social media goddess. What do you want the new brand to convey emotionally?
The main thing that I want to say is that for us, we aren't medical people. We are more interested in knowing people's lived experiences. We want to hear people's first-hand stories of what it is living with a CHD and what it means for them.
I love that. It's lived experiences. You're right. We're not doctors. We're not nurses, unless I have my husband on the show. He is a nurse. Most of us are not medical beyond receiving medical care. And what we're sharing is to be trusted because we're not trying to say what everyone's experience is or what everyone's story is or trying to give tons of statistics. Sometimes we'll give a few statistics when we're introducing a topic, but really this is about lived experiences. So good job.
So Annie, what potential risks, challenges, or concerns did the team identify during the rebranding process? Were there any major debates or difficult decisions the team faced while shaping the new brand identity?
So the reason why I smiled is I honestly think I was the only person here who did not want the name rebranded whatsoever. I really enjoyed what we, okay. So I'm not, that's, woo! Sorry, Anna.
No, it was the voice of the people because we put it out on our Facebook page, everyone to vote on it.
Yes, we did ask everyone to vote on it, and those who were part of it really didn't want the rebranding. I think the biggest fear was if we picked a name that was extremely long, how do you fit that on something? If we picked a name that was a different acronym, having to change those acronyms, having to change those hashtags, the whole thing, we were afraid that through this new transition, we were going to lose our audience and voices so that it wouldn't flow over to the next platform. And luckily, what we did choose allowed us to keep our acronym, which is the CHC podcast. So that was our main concern and potential risk that we were afraid of. Now that we have this new name, I won't deny we've all been kind of tripping over it ourselves. This new identity, which hopefully brings us out more into the public and allows more people to connect. And they'll be like, oh, this is what this means. We're happy to listen. And now we understand that these are stories.
I love how you explained that. It wasn't seamless. It wasn't without risks and it wasn't easy. But friends, you voted and we decided to trust you and go with what you said.
Exactly. All righty. Ayrton, can you walk us through this new look, sound, or feel of the updated brand?
I think for me, the only real change is the fact that I've had to alter the logo slightly. I think we're still going to have the same content, the same style of podcast. We haven't rebranded ourselves in a really extreme way. It's still going to be the same familiar CHC podcast that you all love. We're not going anywhere yet. Hopefully not for a long time.
Yeah. Here.
Now you're stuck with us. We actually have a format that we really like, and it's so much fun when people will ask me, oh, can I come on your podcast? And I'll say, well, which one? Do you speak Spanish? Are you bereaved? Or do you want to talk about the heart? And whenever I talk to them about Heart to Heart with Anna versus this podcast, the CHC podcast, it's very, very different because Heart to Heart with Anna is an intimate, usually one-on-one or maybe one-on-two conversation. But here, it's so much more vibrant. We have multiple producers, we have multiple hosts, we usually have multiple guests, we have patrons, we have volunteers. It's a whole town hall feel, which to me just produces so much excitement and also a lot of tears and also a lot of laughter, which makes it a lot more fun. But man, I feel like I'm on an emotional roller coaster every time we get together and do a recording.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of people who are volunteers, who are patrons, who have been guests on pretty much every single podcast. So it was like we are kind of one big family here.
Yeah, we are. And I love how every single month is just something different and a new topic. Even if the message is the same, it's with different people.
Yes. And I like how inclusive we've been because it would be very easy to say, oh, only these congenital heart defects or only people of this age. It would be very easy because when you just open up to congenital heart defects and even people who have been diagnosed later in life, like Nicole, there are probably more people like you, Nicole, than there are people like Annie or my daughter, Hope. There are more people who find out later in life that they have a heart defect.
It's starting to sound like that with the groups that I'm in because most of them are focused on people that were diagnosed later in life.
And I'm proud of the fact that we can also talk about drug-induced CHD. That's something that has been overlooked for a long time. So Ayrton, having someone like you who can come in and talk about having a quote unquote normal heart for almost all of your life. And then because of something external causing a heart defect, again, I think that's probably a growing population, and your voice is really valuable.
I think I was the first person you spoke to who had drug-induced long QT syndrome.
Absolutely. But since I've talked to you, I've met more.
Yeah, we're all coming out the woodwork now.
I'd go that far. But I think it's like when you get a new car, and then all of a sudden you see all these new cars on the road that are just like yours. It heightens your awareness. I'm sorry, Annie, were you going to say something?
I think it also removes the stigma, because when someone hears drug induced, immediately their mind goes into, oh, they're doing all these drugs, these hard drugs from the
illegal stuff.
streets. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so they deserve this heart defect. But what they don't realize is that's not the case. Yes,
Nope.
maybe some illegal drugs might cause heart issues, but for a majority or most of the people, it's the medications that are prescribed because it's necessary for them to stay alive. So having that ability to be able to make this less stigma and more open, we all bring something different to this platform.
Yeah, I really do love that. I remember when I was studying about hypoplastic left heart syndrome over 30 years ago and trying to learn more about my daughter's condition, that lithium, which is taken by some people who have certain mental health issues, can cause hypoplastic left heart syndrome. And that was really my introduction to external forces can really cause problems with the heart, not just obviously with babies that haven't been born yet, but even with people like Ayrton who are taking them after the fact. So I do like that about this podcast and Heart to Heart with Anna, that we've been open talking about people with these conditions at every stage of life.
Yeah, all three of us had some kind of CHD diagnosis at different stages in life and for different reasons. So I think that's pretty amazing that in a way we all hit the check boxes.
Except for diagnosed in utero, because I did not find out until after my child was born. Yeah, but you're right. And when we get the whole team together, where we are actually producing a podcast episode, then we see more diverse representation of the CHD
and
community at large. So I really love that about the program. And then there's Frank. Yes, poor Frank. He's voluntold to come on the podcast more than any other person. But he's our medical guy. I always feel better having Frank on because he can talk with more authority than a lot of our guests or a lot of the people who come on the program, because he is not just a nurse, but he's an advanced care practice nurse. So he has a lot more experience. Plus, he also loves working in the EP lab. So he has more exposure to things than most of us do. Thank goodness we're not in the EP lab all the time. But he comes home and tells me some really interesting stories about new medications that are coming out or new devices. I love hearing about that. I'm always interested in what's new and late and great that we need to know about. The CHC Congenital Heart Conversations podcast is a presentation of Hearts Unite the Globe, or HUG, and is part of the HUG Podcast Network. HUG is a nonprofit organization devoted to providing resources to the congenital heart defect community to enrich the lives of our community members. For free CHD resources, please visit our website at congenitalheartdefects.com.
You are listening to the CHC podcast. If you have a question or comment that you would like addressed on our show, please send an email to Anna Jaworski at anna@thechcpodcast.com. That's anna@thechcpodcast.com. Now, back to the CHC podcast.
What's really exciting for all of us to talk about right now is the new episodes for 2026. And we just recorded, a real tearjerker of an episode that I think is going to touch a lot of hearts. But I'd like to talk to the team to see what episodes you are looking forward to in 2026. Start with you, Ayrton, because you're at the top of my screen on Zoom.
I think it's because my iPad decided it was going to try and fall off the desk. I think for me, the main one I'm interested in doing is the menopause episode, because obviously we're all biological women who are behind this podcast, and in three, our age And there's a lot of things that we don't get told about menopause. It's still a taboo subject in a lot of places as well.
I know. And why in the world should that be taboo when that is the most natural thing for women to go through as they age? I don't get it.
To a lot of women, the main thing they get for menopause, all they think it is, okay, your menstrual cycle stops and you start sweating a lot more. But there is so much more to it than that.
So much more. Oh my gosh, there's so much more. This is going to be a big episode. Friends, if you want to be part of the studio audience for this, you need to reach out to us and let us know. What about you, Annie? What episode are you most looking forward to doing?
Well, Ayrton just took that. It's also menopause because I'm starting to go through the process. I started when I was 40 in perimenopause, and at 47, I'm finally at that stage where once I hit the year, it's official. Like Ayrton was saying, there is a huge stigma, but luckily we're speaking about it. And by being able to speak about it, we can let our medical team know that maybe those atrial flutters aren't just atrial flutters. Maybe they're being induced by hormones. Maybe bleeding for 3 weeks out of the 4 every single month is something to be concerned about because we might have anemia or we might have other things like endometriosis. I have PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, and all of that jazz. People don't want to hear about this. They don't want to talk about this, and they're afraid. But by remaining within our fear, we aren't able to help others as well as ourselves. The brain fog, the anxiety, the irritability, and everything else in between all affects our heart one way or another, whether you're a CHD or not. That is my episode that I'm really looking forward to.
All right, Nicole. Is it going to be 3 for 3 then?
It is going to be 3 for 3.
You're supposed to be like best on one of the shows. I was going to be favorite.
So that would probably be my second favorite. But as somebody who is trying to navigate the process of a potential hysterectomy because of fibroids and cysts, and the first person that I talked to was, well, you're not a good candidate because of your heart condition. And just automatically assumed that I still had cardiomyopathy and I still had hypertension, both of which resolved with the replacement of my aortic valve. I had to go back to my cardiologist and say, hey, here is my situation. And the cardiologist very quickly was like, nope, those have resolved. Your EKG is perfectly normal. Your heart function is perfectly normal. My tech has said that if she didn't know you had a bioprosthetic, she wouldn't know because it works so well. And I will clear you for any surgery. So now I'm starting all over again and having to try to find a gynecologist that's willing to work with me.
See, I think this is one of the things that we need to talk about. And that is after you do have open heart surgery, and it seems like your major symptoms, such as arrhythmias or pulmonary problems, for a lot of people, they resolve. Now, in Annie's case and in Hope's case, they may not completely resolve like they did for you, Nicole, but they resolve enough that that is not the main issue anymore. And it does complicate matters when you have something else going on. And for us women, everything is always more complicated when it comes to female parts.
I said to the gynecologist, you probably know more about my heart than your average patient because I have multiple pictures of my heart, either pre-surgery, post-surgery. But speaking of navigating things after your heart surgery, I had to get a cardiac clearance for a colonoscopy. I had my wisdom teeth out. The oral surgeon would not put me to sleep because he was concerned about the effects with the heart. I was awake from my wisdom teeth removal. They did the Novocaine and the gas. I don't recommend being awake.
No.
But I did it because I didn't have a choice.
Wow. You are so brave. That's scary. That's really scary to be able to do that. Oh my gosh, Nicole.
The second episode that I'm excited about is going to be our annual gratitude episode. I was very lucky in that I've gotten to know one of the individuals that actually worked in my surgery. She happens to be a friend of a neighbor of mine, and we have hung out on multiple occasions. I have thanked for every time that I have seen her.
I just love that. Oh, Annie, we're going to be crying during that one.
Oh, I know. We will. Get the tissues ready, everyone.
Yeah, the virtual tissues, we passed around that episode.
Exactly. And how about you, Anna?
You know what? Every single episode to me is one that I'm going to look forward to. We just interviewed Sarah Jane Walsh and Danny Espinosa, and we all cried. But they were healing tears. And he reminded us afterwards that all those chemicals that come out in our tears actually help us. And I think she's right. We also had some laughter, which is always healing. So that one about the CHD documentary that's being made, I loved that one. We're doing an episode that I have wanted to do on Heart to Heart with Anna and just never came together. It just never happened, even though I've been podcasting since 2013. We're doing one on dog therapy. And I absolutely love that because a long time ago, I had a dog named Lucy, and I used to take Lucy to be a dog therapist at a nursing home. And to see how the elderly people greeted Lucy and how much joy she brought into their lives, I just know that this is going to be fun. Kate Lund is going to be coming on to talk to us about dog therapy. But not only that, we're also going to have a music therapist. And I have done an episode of that in Heart to Heart with Anna. I love, love, love how music can enhance your life. In fact, I've been writing a book lately, and I've been using Baroque music as background music to help me. It's amazing how that opens up my mind for creativity. So I just love that we're going to be talking about music therapy, but we're also, thanks to Ayrton, hopefully going to have a hypnotherapist. So Ayrton, can you talk to us a little bit about what you are expecting from that episode?
The only experience I have with hypnotherapy is that my friend used a hypnotherapist to help her with her anxiety when she was taking her driving test. She was struggling to pass it, and it was with working with the hypnotherapist that she was able to pass on a 7th attempt.
This is a little known fact that I'll share here, and that is that Frank actually took some hypnotherapy classes to help people who need anesthesia, who for religious reasons do not want to have anesthesia. And it's a big deal. It's not something he's actually practiced a whole lot at the hospital because legal reasons, but he has found that when people come in with high anxiety, he can use the techniques he has learned as a hypnotherapist to help calm them and to relieve some of that anxiety. That's really what it's doing, is it's providing a sense of protection to us. So I think that's going to be a really interesting episode. I think that's an area of medicine that is not talked about enough.
Wow, I can't wait to hear that episode. When I've had my 40-something paracentesis, somebody had mentioned finding a way to sort of remove myself and my body from it so that I'm not experiencing it. And I'm thinking, well, how the hell do you do that? Because quite honestly, I'm feeling everything and it's not fun. Something like that to at least relieve the anxiety. I'm not saying that I'm going to be able to get to that level of work, but learning how there might be tips and tricks, that would be amazing.
Well, here's the cool thing. Frank actually has learned techniques that he is using with some of our friends to help them with certain anxiety issues that they have, mostly around food. And once you learn that technique, it really is self-hypnosis. That's what it is more than anything. So once you understand the technique, then you can do it yourself.
That's amazing.
It really is. It's really cool. So I'm looking forward to that episode too. I hope we did not just overpromise.
Listen, any tip or trick is always necessary.
It would have come helpful for my wisdom teeth and as well as for my cast, because when I had my heart cast, they couldn't give me the full dose of whatever you get. Initially, they told me that they would give me something, I would be aware, but I wouldn't care that I was in there. My blood pressure apparently dropped right before we went into the cath lab. And they're like, oh no, sorry, we can't give you the full dose. I was 100% aware and I could feel things, and it did not help the anxiety whatsoever.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, when they
that's
go
so
through your neck, they
bad.
don't want you asleep either. They make sure you're 100% aware, and then they do what they need to keep you numb and stuff. And as a child, I actually fought it because I wanted to see what the doctors were doing. I wanted to see what they were looking at because, you know, I'm a very weird person. So now as an adult, I'm like, knock me out, please.
Wow. Okay, just to give you the rundown, friends, we do have quite a few other interesting shows that we're going to be doing. We'll be looking at National Stroke Awareness Month and hope to have some good guests. I'm also excited about an episode we want to do on growing up with CHD, looking at emotional transitions. So many times we talk about the physical transitions, going to a different hospital, going to a different doctor or a different clinic. But what about the emotional transition? That's huge. So we're really looking forward to doing an episode about that. And then what about when you become the caregiver for your parents and you're the one with the CHD? That's a whole different experience. So we're hoping to have some seasoned heart patients come on and talk to us about how their life changed when they became the caregiver. Of course, we'll be focusing on World Heart Day because that's something that means a lot to us. But we're going to end the year on a different note than we have in the past. At the end of the year this year, we're going to be talking about nonprofits that make a difference. And I'm really looking forward to that because Hearts Unite the Globe is a nonprofit that sponsors this podcast. But I love talking to people who work with nonprofits because they do it because they love the cause. They believe in what it is they're doing, whether it's Annie working with animals or Ayrton working with people who need special counseling. It's usually for a good cause. So I'm really happy we're going to be talking about that. Nicole, do you have a pet nonprofit aside from HUG?
Well, I actually work for a nonprofit that provides services to people with disabilities.
That's right. I should have remembered that. So see, there's a lot to unpack there. We're going to have a lot to talk about.
This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The opinions expressed in the podcast are not those of Hearts Unite the Globe, but of the hosts and guests, and are intended to spark discussion about issues pertaining to congenital heart disease or bereavement.
I'm just so grateful to have this core team, but it's not just this team that does this. We have guests, we have volunteers, and sometimes we even have other people who are co-producers or co-hosts. Andy, can you help tell people how you feel about being a volunteer and how they might be able to get involved?
Yeah. When I first originally started volunteering, I won't deny it was a commitment I was worried I wouldn't fully be able to make because mentally I wasn't ready. And so I would come in and out from time to time. But once I realized that this was really a mission, especially given all the different topics, I made it my main focus. And it's been really a part of not only my life, but a piece of my identity. And that's what I love because it's not just telling my story, it's my ability to be able to help share other stories too. So if you're looking to get involved, go on to heartsunitetheglobe.com. There's a tab that's called Get Involved. And the getting involved can be maybe you want to donate, maybe you want to be a guest and you want a story to be told. Another way is volunteering, and that's what we do. And finally, by being a sponsor, I am one as well. I decided not only do I feel passionate volunteering and having a voice in this, but I'm able to give something a little bit every month. By contributing every month, that helps us so that we can do things. And we can also potentially go to things like podcast movements so we can learn how not only to be better podcasters, but how to be better everything. You as an audience really win in this situation. So yeah, there's a Hearts Unite the Globe volunteer form. You put in all your information, how often you'd like to volunteer with us, how would you like to help, what areas are you interested in, what do you enjoy most about volunteering, etc. We'd love to have you on one way or another. We'd love to have you help us out.
Ayrton, what got you interested in volunteering with HUG?
It's a funny story because I saw Anna post a link up saying that she was going to be holding an online meeting in Zoom. And I just thought, I haven't spoken to Anna properly for ages. I'll just jump on and say hi. That was 6 months after the podcast first started. So yeah, it was just that one Sunday meeting.
And you were hooked.
Yeah, I was hooked. I was like, I'll just see what this is about. I've been with the CHC podcast ever since, doing the social media.
Yeah, you're amazing. And Ayrton is one of our other volunteers who's also a patron. You don't have to be. We really appreciate every single person who gives any of their time to us because we know how precious that is. That's priceless. But we do have expenses. I know some people talk to me about starting a podcast. It's not free, friends.
The recording equipment, the editing software, the hosts that you need to pay for. There's a lot of hidden costs that people don't realize.
There really are. And none of us
Nope.
takes a salary. Nobody in Hug takes a salary. It's all 100% volunteer driven. But we do take the money that is donated by our patrons and put it to good use. We are lucky that our volunteers, for the most part, buy their own equipment. We haven't had to do something like that. We don't have a studio. My studio is in my garage. I'm speaking to you from my garage office, which luckily the person who owned the house before me turned the garage into an office, but Frank has updated it for me. So it has better soundproofing and my floors are better, which is really nice. It's not just a cement floor, which would not be much fun to be in. So yeah, we don't have anything super fancy. You need an iPad or a computer or a phone, a smartphone. And we give all of the training. Annie has really amazed me. I think maybe she's a better sound engineer now than I am. But we've all learned from each other too. Ayrton's even been able to teach us a little bit about reels and stories. I'm starting to learn more about what I should put in a reel or a story. And then we have Nicole, who we dragged into this too. Nicole, talk to us about how you got involved.
I did come willingly.
Yay.
Me personally, I was looking for a community because, like I said, I had 1 week between my diagnosis and my surgery and knew absolutely nothing about my heart defect specifically or congenital heart defects in general. So I was looking just for that connection to both get information and to find people that could relate, because although I have a really great friend group who definitely stepped up when I had my unexpected surgery, they didn't quite understand emotionally and mentally what I was going through. I think, Anna, you posted in one of the groups that I'm in, and I commented something like, I'm very new to this world and I have questions. And I originally planned just to be in the background and do transcripts editing.
I remember that.
Yeah, that's right.
That's where you've been dragged around.
And here I am
behind a curtain.
So that being said, if somebody is wanting to volunteer but doesn't necessarily want to co-host because they don't want to have to speak on camera or speak while being recorded, there are plenty of things to do on the back end. I'm always looking for help to get transcripts edited because I am always behind. And there's any number of things. I imagine Ayrton would probably love to have some help with the social media aspect too.
Oh, I'd love some help with the social media aspect, because especially if I've got university deadlines or if I'm on stage, very often there's weeks where I don't have the time to post anything.
Nicole is right that we do have lots of positions. We can use help with writing scripts. We can use help with the sound engineering. Sounds scary, but it's not really. We have a really sophisticated program called Descript that allows us to do most of the editing from a transcript. You don't have to know audio stuff. If you do, though, we would love to have you join us too, because there is about 10 to 15% that I would say from any episode we really need to do from the soundtrack, not just the transcript. So people who aren't afraid of music and aren't afraid of working with computers, we would love to have somebody like that come and join the team as well. And the other thing I want to say is, even though we do have our core team here, including Magnus, who you're seeing in the camera right now, we do understand that people have lives and they may not be able to make it to every single meeting or to every single episode. And that's okay, because if we have more people who are part of the team, and this is not the whole team, this is the core team that you're meeting right now, friends. If you are part of the extended team, then you know there's plenty of room for all of you to come and be part of the team too. We welcome having more people involved. So that pretty much takes us through this first episode that we've done. I think this is the first time we've done an all video episode. I'm a little curious what it's going to look like when it's all done. Friends, let us know if you liked this or if no. It was way better when we were just audio. We'll take that into account for future episodes. But this was fun. Welcome to 2026 and the CHC podcast, Congenital Heart Chronicles. I am Anna Jaworski. You won't want to miss next month's show. We already told you about it with Sarah Jane Walsh and Danny Espinoza. They're amazing. They'll be talking about a documentary they're making called Tested Love, which I think is going to be fantastic. That's it for me. I'm Anna Jaworski.
I'm Etan Beatty and Magnus in the background.
I'm Nicole Bilodeau.
And I'm Annie Alchak.
Friends, have a great day and keep those congenital heart conversations going on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
Thank you for joining us. The CHC podcast can be heard monthly wherever you get your podcasts. Visit us on Facebook or Instagram to continue the conversations. Join the Hearts Unite the Globe Patreon group and become part of our town hall meetings. It's simple. Just visit www.heartsunitetheglobe.org and select the tab that says Donate to Hug with Patreon. Then you too can be part of the conversation.